Real Talk Tuesday. Gotta make it professional so my voice really like projects and is eloquent here in our studio set. We're on Paramount Studios, the lot of Onefelix. Listen to Felix, Onefelix vlog. So, Buck Dancer, great name, Buck Dancer, at Noir Fancy. I know who this is. What day is it today? So, Buck Dancer, I collect the questions on Monday, but today is Real Talk Tuesday. I hope that helps. I'm squinting a bit because it's getting to that point where I might need some glasses. Anthony J. Pranther says, NY skate companies versus Cali skate companies. This is an amazing question because I grew up, born and raised in New York City, New Jersey, moved down to Miami, came out to California to visit a couple of times, noticed the stark difference in skateboarding on the East Coast and skateboarding on the West Coast. It's starting to blend a little bit more now. When I moved out here, I was tripping because on the East Coast, we just seemed to skate more, like literally from point A to point B, C, D, E, like all day long, you just keep skating. On the West Coast, it seemed like jump in your car, drive to the spot, hop the fence, squeeble your toe. I'm gonna insert an edit of this, me going out with your toe. Setting up your toe for that flick or whatever down the stairs, onto the ledge, onto the bench. And I guess depending on the area, it also spawns the interest, and then it spawns the company that wants to cater to that interest. I think the New York companies kind of keep it moving more. It feels more raw. It feels more organic, and it feels more crew. Gang, gang, gang. No, it feels, honestly, it just feels like a vibe more than a West Coast company. The West Coast companies, I feel like they're a bit more fabricated. Almost like people are drafted. He rode for him, I'ma steal him. I need those tricks, I'ma get him. It feels more like you're building a team as opposed to a crew that's rolling around. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, I just think it's a total different vibe. And it was interesting because I was part of the most influential brand out of New York ever, Shut Skateboards. And then I made a pretty decent dent in the culture on the West Coast with Planet Earth skateboards, rhythm skateboards, ammo skateboards. I think there's a really, really distinct difference. I think the riders kind of reflect it too. You know, usually the Cali companies like that more forward-thinking, technical, more universal trick doing skater, while the New York companies seem to like the more, this might be a big word, esoteric type of skateboarder that likes, you know, creative environments, a different approach to a standard obstacle. I find them both completely interesting because I aspire to do a lot of the Cali skateboard company tricks, but I grew up doing more of the New York skateboard company tricks. Anthony, I hope that gives you a little something. If not, you know what? Comment below and we'll keep this conversation going next week. Ivan Getz, what was your most inspiring moment in the Shut days? Well, Ivan, I just happened to speak about Shut. Shut was really interesting. For me, I was just a kid who had a toy in his closet. There was a basketball, there was a football, there was a tennis racket. Don't think there was any roller skates. There was a skateboard. I just started skating. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. It was early 80s, so skateboarding wasn't made up. There was a couple magazines in the library at my high school? At my grammar school, high school. And I would just flick through those and I didn't really know exactly what was going on. I saw them slaloming, so I would go to the store, buy a 6-pack of soda, drink all 6 cans, spread them out, learn how to slalom. I used to take like I don't know what, piece of plywood I could find in the street, lean it up against the wall, try and kick turn. Couldn't figure out how to get inverted, couldn't figure out how to do an air, didn't know how to build a jump ramp. And then I met this group of guys that knew how to skate. Those group of guys just liked my heart and started taking me around. And I started doing kind of okay. They got me to a skateboard contest. I won a skateboard contest pretty early on. And when I won that contest, it was at the Brooklyn Banks. Rodney Smith, Beasley, rest in peace Beasley. I believe Chris Pastris might have been in that first pack of people with Bruno Musso, and they asked me to ride for Shut. So I don't know what's more iconic than the first time I was ever asked to ride for Shut, or the millions of stories and adventures while I was on Shut. It was such special times because skateboarding wasn't completely created during those times. So every time we left and went to go skating, we were actually creating modern street skating. And that's a really bold statement. If you were there, you know that's true. Being the East Coast version of the Dogtown and Z-Boys, I think that's probably one of the most inspiring moments of the Shut days. And then if I think I want to just say something practical, before I even knew that you could be sponsored, they walked up to me and sponsored me. Before I even knew that it was possible to be pro or to even have a career in skateboarding, I was the #1 amateur in the country. I don't know how that happened. I went to the one contest, I won. I went to the next contest, I got second. And when we looked at the NSA standings, Felix Arguelles, #1 skateboarder in the country in the amateur ranks riding for Shut Skateboards. That was really cool, man, to put this little company out of a basement in Mott Street in the Village on the grand scale of things in the US. Every moment on Shut Skateboards was an inspiring moment. It was really beginning to define who I was. We built our own boards, we screened our own shirts. I still do that to this day. Great times. Thank you for the question. Terrence Froberg, what was your biggest triumph and your biggest regret? Man, that one's pretty deep. Biggest triumph. If you would have asked me this question 10 years ago, I might have said something else. So I'm going to answer right now because we're in right now. So my biggest triumph is every time I look back or look forward at one of the people who I've worked with, past, present, or future, I get super excited. Because I know anybody that I've ever worked with has always ended up in a better situation. And sometimes people have mixed emotions when they see riders leave companies or stuff like that. Sometimes riders leave companies for the wrong reasons, and that kind of bothers me. If you get bought by somebody, you're gonna get bought by somebody else. And if you're working for $1 instead of for your passion and your dream, you're never gonna be full. But when I see somebody doing good, I get so excited because realistically, I look at riders as my kids or my family or whatever, and realistically, you don't raise your kids to stay home, otherwise you're a bad dad. You raise your kids so they can grow up, leave the house, bring those same core values out into the world, and maybe they can raise somebody else. And maybe they can start a company to help somebody else. So as long as you're bringing people up that are helping pick up other people, I think that is my greatest triumph. The fact that I have, I am, and I will constantly pick people up. Giovanni Retta. Oh. The name sounds familiar. How is it we don't see each other enough? Love you, Felix. You're my brother for life. Retta, I love you so much. Drop the mic. I'm done. Let's go. No, for real. Gio Retta is such an amazing person. I probably don't need to tell you that if you're watching this vlog because you're probably a skateboarder. But there is a small percentage of people that follow me that aren't skateboarders. And I really want you guys to dig deep and find out who Gio Retta is. And if not, he's doing the hard work and you're gonna find out who he is regardless. What an amazing soul. We crossed paths once at an airport and did this one to each other. Because he knew who I was and I knew who he was, but we didn't know each other personally. From there, shortly after, he ended up staying with me on my couch for as long as he wanted to. Drove the Benz, ate out the fridge. And before I knew it, he was just such a boss in this industry. And he's brought so much life to skateboarding culture and just so much life to so many brands and skateboarders. It's just endless and it's only beginning. So Retta, it hurts that I don't wake up in the morning anymore and you're on that couch. And it hurts that I don't see you as much as when we were in the vans together, in the trenches together, trying to get that clip, trying to get that flick. But honestly, you're probably as busy, if not busier than I am. But we still need to carve out some time, bro. I got that real big couch at Diamond. It's like a brand new couch. You could sleep there if you want. We got about 4,000 square feet of creative space here. You can come create here, set up a photo studio, whatever you want. I go to an amazing church on Sundays. You can come lift that spirit that you have a little higher than it already is, because you bring so much life to every room that you enter. You know what's really funny? This is for all you guys who don't really know us that well. One time we were on a tour. Here's a little Retta story. And I was here, and Retta was here, and Jason King, you can guys do your homework who Jason King is. Jason King was sitting between us. Jason goes, man, you guys are like the Cuban Italian surround sound. So it became like a thing. Every time you found yourself with me and Retta in the room, you were within the Cuban Italian surround sound. So Retta, I miss you, I love you, I want to see you again. I want to see you before you see this vlog, and this vlog's going up in a few minutes. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to shoot you a direct link. Yeah, that brings us to a close. That was a red eye today, if you wonder if I'm a little extra spunky. Not sponsored, but if you guys know what company this is, feel free to reach out, you know. Thank you guys for joining me on Real Talk Tuesday. I gotta go. I want you to leave questions below. I'll pull some questions from there for Real Talk Tuesday next week. If we can get this going real good, I might turn this into a podcast. I appreciate all the likes, all the new subs. See you real soon. My bad, Terrence. I just pulled over because in my head I was editing this piece and I forgot that I didn't answer your question. I guess I'm just such a positive guy that I wasn't even thinking about my biggest regret. In 1987 or 6 or something like that, Everett Rosecrans sponsored me for Vans, and I quit Vans sometime later on because I saw Julian Stranger skating in the Vision DV8s. They looked like Jordans at the time, and Jordans were so hot, and it's still kind of hot. Julian's feet looked so good that I wanted to have feet on a skateboard that looked like Julian's feet. So my biggest regret, I could say, is that I ever quit Vans. I would have probably had the second signature shoe on Vans. We know how Stevie Cab's doing. He's doing really good. Shout out to Stevie Cab. Vans are just cooking up so many good designs. They're timeless. Shout out to Justin Regan and everybody making it happen. Steve Van Duren. You guys have so many legends of the team. Biggest regret, ever quitting Vans.